In this Python example program, we're going to combine for loops and ifs. We're going to have a set of credentials, usernames, and passwords, and then we're going to have a user of the program enter some attempted credentials and then check them against a list. One time, though, we will explicitly loop through all of the credentials and check, and the other time we're going to use an implicit, a built-in search that belongs to the list structure in Python. This example program can be found at the URL seen at the top. On the left, we see the program loaded into the Visual Studio Code, and on the right, we see the terminal interaction with the user, one time entering bad credentials and the next time entering good credentials. In lines 7 and 8, we are declaring and initializing two parallel lists of first usernames and then passwords. In lines 11 and 12, we are prompting the user to enter an attempted username and attempted password. In our first approach, we are going to explicitly loop through the usernames looking for a match. So in 15, we set up a Boolean variable to determine whether or not we have found a valid username, and we're going to start that off as false. We haven't started to look yet, so we have not yet found a valid username. In 16, we set up our loop over the usernames. By including this enumerate functionality, we have access not only to the usernames, Groucho, Chico, etc., but to the index, the position within the list, so the 0, 1, 2. And that index is going to allow us to work with the parallel list, which contains the passwords. So now in 17, we're ready to look for a match. A match will require a match of both the username and the password. So we are using the Boolean AND of two conditions. Make sure that the user attempt is equal to a username. User is one of the users in the list of usernames that we are iterating over. And then we are testing the corresponding password. So the pass attempt is what the user entered, and passwords I is the corresponding password. So if the username and password both match, then we say that we print out that we have good credentials, and we set the found variable to true. Now we see that compared to line 19, line 20 is sort of outdented twice. So 19 is in the if, which is in the for loop. 20 is outside of the if and outside of the for loop. So it is after we've looped through all of the users. It's only when we've looped through all the users do we know that we have not found a good user. So we're saying if not found, so that the word not spelled out is the Python equivalent of the exclamation, the Boolean not in other languages, then we will say bad credentials. So it's a standard mistake to put that if that is in 20 inside the loop, and then you keep saying that it's bad credential sort of repeatedly. You only want to test that when you've gone through all of the users. A sort of a better, more efficient format here might be to jump out of the loop once we found a user, but we don't have that here. Now we are starting our second attack on the problem. So in lines 24 and 25, we are re-prompting the user to enter credentials, attempted username and attempted password. And this is the approach where we are not explicitly looping ourselves, but allowing the list functionality to do that searching for us. So in 28, we ask if the attempted username is in our list of usernames. And then if it is, we move inside the if to line 29. Now, because we're working with our parallel lists, we will need to know the index of the matched username so that we can then correspondingly check the right password. And so we use the built-in index functionality. So we have usernames.index parentheses user attempt. That is a sort of built-in search. We know the user attempt is in the set of usernames from 28. Now we're finding explicitly its position, its index. And now that we know its index, then in 30 we are ready to check the password. So the password attempt is compared to the passwords with the correct index, and if that matches, we in 31 say good credentials, otherwise 32 we say bad credentials, and then in 34 that else belongs to the if of 28, which asked if the attempted username was in the list of usernames, and if that's false, then we're going to say 35, bad username.